Hey guys, it's Marshall Ting with your Superior Ag Insurance Ringside report for this past week, the week of June 11th through the 17th. So it has been a very busy week across your auction barns and markets this past week. Statewide, we've sold 20,638 head of cattle statewide, which if you compare that to this time last year, that's up 9,500 head. So right here in the middle of June, that's a really good sign. You know, we talked last week, said they're pretty much consistent to what they have been, but this week, man, it really turned on the gas. 9,500 head more than what we've been seeing. Now, what's the cattle market actually doing? So I want to call it spotty. It's going to be somewhere from $2 higher to $2 lower, depending on kind of condition, and buyer selectivity is playing a huge impact on these cattle. But these numbers are still holding really strong on your cattle. Now, your full-weight steer cattle this week, I want to call them on average about 250, so that's still about where we have been, but your top was at 285 this week, so that sure is a good sign. Now, your 5-weight steer cattle, give you a nickel spread on them. I'm gonna call them 240 to 245 on those. They topped off at 268. Now let's talk about these 8-weights. So you saw a huge jump last week in your CME feeder cattle index, and this week we started off really strong on your high end of your 8-weight cattle. Now we had some that were, a lot of these cattle were going to trade the 205 to 210, but we had some really high numbers on some sure enough standout show up type cattle. So here's your steers. Here's your 8-weight steers. Here's 77 head, not quite 8 weights yet. These are all black steers, 784. So right underneath the mark, 229.75. Now here's your mid-8s. Here's 66 head of black steers, 847 pounds on the average at 225, and then close out on your heavy 8s. Here's 64 head of black steers, 895 on your average, 217.90. So once you start getting a little bit heavier, then you're starting to see a little bit back up, but that's to be expected. But now there still was a lot of cattle traded this week in that 205 to 210 mark. Now here's a big stand-up group of Holsteins. Now here's 57 head of Holsteins, 909 pounds on the average, $1.6980. So that's a whale of a trade on a Holstein steer. But let's compare that to your CME feeder cattle index. So your CME feeder cattle index for the week has actually backed up some. It climbed and climbed last week. This week we're going to be on the descent. So Monday the 12th, the CME feeder cattle index was 228.20. By the time Tuesday the 13th, 228.25, so just barely an inch of an increase there, but then we started to back up. Wednesday the 14th, 227.68, and then by Thursday the 15th, 223.76, and we closed out the week Friday the 16th at 223.86. So about a $5 drop throughout the week, but that's kind of what's going on in your cattle market. As always, if you're interested in an LRP policy, a livestock risk protection policy, there's no better time than right now. Be sure to reach out to the guys. Call Ian Thomas at 859-613-2453 or call Adam Shoemaker at 859-338-4116. Check them out on the web, www.superioragins.com. As always, thank you. Talk to you next week.